The studio apartment was barely 400 square feet, but it held every piece of Maya's life. The smell of turpentine clung to the air like memory, mixing with old wood and coffee grounds from mornings spent painting until her hands cramped. Light slipped through a single window facing a brick wall, catching on the dust that drifted above rows of canvases leaning against every surface. The floorboards were cracked, the rent was high, and to anyone else, it looked like the picture of failure. To Maya, it was evidence of progress measured in quiet hours. Her sister Rebecca often visited when business trips brought her into the city. She would stand near the door, careful not to brush against the paint, eyes scanning the mess as if calculating lost potential. Rebecca loved numbers, portfolios, and phrases like market stability. She had a house in New Jersey with white walls and marble counters, a 401k with steady growth, 2 children and a husband who posted family vacations on social media. She would look around this small apartment and sigh about what Maya could have been if she had chosen something practical. Maya never defended herself. She would pour coffee, listen to Rebecca's updates about promotions, and nod. Silence was easier than explaining that she was not chasing comfort. She was chasing precision. Every brushstroke, every layer of color, was part of something she could not yet name. The room was small, but it was hers, earned month by month through careful work. There were nights she slept on the floor, covered in the scent of oil and effort, and felt a strange peace. It was not poverty, it was devotion. In that space, stripped of approval, she built the only kind of wealth that mattered: mastery. During the day, Maya's world was quiet but exact. Her work as an art restoration specialist demanded precision that left no room for distraction. Under the cool glow of UV light, she studied the cracks of century-old paintings, tracing each fracture with a magnifier until she could see the history breathing beneath the surface. Every pigment told a story. Every faded line was a piece of time she was trusted to restore. She worked for private collectors and small museums that valued her steadiness. They paid well, and her contracts totaled around $120,000 a year. It was honest, specialized labor that required patience, discipline, and near-perfect control of the hand. Her studio changed after hours. The restoration work would end, but her own paintings would begin. The same precision she used to heal other people's art she now used to build her own. Her canvases explored isolation, digital noise, and the silence between modern connections. She painted until 2 or 3 in the morning, headphones in, her thoughts dissolving into color. No one knew what those nights cost her in time or energy. Her family assumed she was barely scraping by, living off small sales or commissions that never materialized. She let them believe it because it was easier than translating a life they did not understand. Over the years, her reputation in the art world grew quietly. Auction houses began calling for her opinion on authenticity reports. Insurance firms trusted her to assess restoration values that reached 6 figures. Her name started to appear in small print at the bottom of catalog pages. Then one afternoon, an email arrived from Dr. Elizabeth Hartley, a senior curator from the Metropolitan Museum of Art. She had seen Maya's pieces at a small Chelsea gallery and wanted to meet. Their first meeting was brief but decisive. Dr. Hartley spoke of emotion hidden in structure, of the way Maya's brushwork seemed to breathe. After several visits, the museum made an offer. They wanted to purchase her 5-painting series for $480,000. The number did not make her dizzy. It made her still. It meant her years of invisible labor had finally taken form. The offer was more than financial freedom. It was confirmation that discipline, when carried in silence, could outlast every doubt. The dining room glowed with the kind of light that made everything look softer than it really was. Silverware tapped against plates, glasses clinked, and the low hum of polite conversation filled the air. The table was long, covered in food that no one really tasted. Rebecca spoke first, her voice bright with confidence as she told everyone about her promotion and the company stock that had doubled. Their aunt nodded with approval, already asking about the next home renovation. Around them, laughter circled like music at a party that never changed its tune. Maya listened, her hands resting quietly in her lap. The smell of roasted vegetables mixed with the faint perfume of her sister's success. When Rebecca turned to her, it was with that same gentle tone she used every year. She asked if Maya had thought about finding a steady job, maybe teaching or doing graphic design, something stable, something with a paycheck that came every 2 weeks. Her words weren't cruel, they were soaked in habit, like advice given from the top of a hill to someone still climbing. Maya smiled and nodded, her voice even. She had learned that silence was the most efficient way to protect peace. Her family mistook it for resignation, but it was strength. Around her, the noise of pride filled the air, a chorus of certainty that never questioned itself. She sat in that noise like still water in a storm, unshaken, steady, and quietly free. Jessica had been quiet most of the night, scrolling through her phone while the adults traded stories about jobs and investments. Then her voice cut through the hum of conversation, light and curious, asking if this article was about Aunt Maya. Heads turned. She held up the screen, and on it was a photo of Maya standing beside one of her paintings, the bold colors glowing under the museum lights. The headline read that the Metropolitan Museum of Art had acquired her 5-painting series for $480,000. For a moment, the room stopped breathing. Forks hung in midair. Rebecca blinked, her expression frozen between disbelief and confusion. Their aunt leaned forward, squinting, as if seeing couldn't possibly make it true. The only sound was the faint hum of the refrigerator. Maya felt all the years of misunderstanding settle in that silence. She did not explain. She did not smile. She simply watched the truth rearrange itself on their faces. Jessica's excitement filled the gap first. She kept reading, words spilling out about reviews and comparisons to famous artists. Her voice trembled with pride. The adults said nothing. Maya looked around the table, seeing the shift she had stopped waiting for years ago. The judgment that once weighed on her had evaporated, replaced by quiet respect they didn't know how to express. She lowered her eyes, calm and still. The truth didn't need her defense. It was finally speaking for itself. Rebecca finally spoke, her voice quieter than usual. She asked why Maya had never told them about the museum, about the years of work that had led to this moment. The question sounded small, almost childlike, coming from someone who had always seemed certain of everything. Maya looked at her for a long moment before answering. She said she stopped trying to be understood when they stopped listening. The words came out steady, free of bitterness, but they landed with the weight of truth. No one moved. No one argued. The silence that followed was not the old kind, the kind filled with judgment. It was the new kind, the kind that listens. Maya's phone buzzed against the table. A text appeared from Dr. Hartley, brief and professional, confirming a new commission worth $720,000. For a second, she stared at the screen, then turned it face down. She did not need to read it again. She had nothing left to prove. Around her, the conversation drifted into fragments about how proud they were, how incredible the news was. Maya nodded, thanked them, and let their words move past her like air. Her calm unsettled them more than any speech could have. It was not a triumph. It was released. She had already moved beyond the need for validation. The real victory was that she could sit at that table unshaken, knowing her value had never depended on their recognition. After dinner, the others drifted into smaller conversations, but Rebecca stayed behind. The light over the table had softened, and the room felt quieter, as if the noise of judgment had finally burned itself out. Rebecca looked tired, not from the evening, but from years of holding on to the wrong idea of success. She said she had always measured life by titles, promotions, and the size of a house. Then she looked at Maya and said that maybe peace and self-mastery were harder to earn, but worth more in the end. Her voice shook slightly, not from shame, but from recognition. Maya listened, steady and still. There was no trace of resentment left in her. She told Rebecca that everyone defines success by what they fear losing most. For her, it was freedom. For Rebecca, it had been security, The difference had never been competition, only misunderstanding. Maya reached for her glass and watched the wine catch the light, a soft, red reflection rippling across the table. It looked like something breaking and healing at the same time. Rebecca smiled faintly, the kind of smile that comes when pride no longer matters. The moment felt like air clearing after a storm. Maya thought about how silence had protected her all those years, how truth grows stronger when not forced to prove itself. On the wall, light moved gently across the paint, leaving a trace that shimmered and then faded, like peace finally settling in. The drive back to Brooklyn was quiet. City lights blurred along the wet pavement, and the hum of traffic felt softer than usual. Maya kept one hand on the wheel, her mind clear, her body relaxed. The dinner had left her with something lighter than pride. It was the calm that follows when a weight finally slides off after years of carrying it. When she reached her building, she parked in the same cracked space she had always used, stepped out into the cool air, and walked upstairs. The studio looked different that night. The same narrow walls, the same smell of paint and coffee. But it felt sacred now. Every brush, every stain, every uneven corner had its purpose. The silence that once carried doubt now felt like peace. She turned on the desk lamp, sat down by a half-finished canvas, and opened her laptop. The new message from the Metropolitan Museum was waiting at the top of her inbox. The subject line confirmed the commission for $720,000. She smiled, small and steady, then closed the screen. The lamp cast a soft circle of light over the painting. She picked up her brush and began working again, slow and deliberate, the way she always had. Outside, the city pulsed with noise, but inside, there was only rhythm and breath. She no longer needed to be seen. The work itself was enough. Real success, she thought, is not applause but mastery, and silence, when it comes from peace, is the loudest kind of respect.